Hi. In this video, we are going to learn about adjective agreement in Spanish. The first thing we're going to talk about is what is a noun. The second thing we're going to talk about is what is an adjective. And finally, how do I make them, the noun and the adjective, agree? All right, so let's start with what is a noun. Well, a noun is a person, place, or thing. So an example of a person noun in Spanish is el profesor, or the teacher. The example of a place noun in Spanish is el colegio, or high school. And an example of a thing noun in Spanish is el libro, or the book. Okay, so now what is an adjective? An adjective is a word that describes a noun. I'm going to give you a couple of examples in both English and Spanish. In the phrase the nice teacher or el profesor simpático, the noun is teacher, the adjective is nice. Or in Spanish, the noun is el profesor, the adjective is simpático. Notice that the adjective comes in front of the noun in English, but behind the noun in Spanish. Let's look at another example. In the phrase the good book, the noun is the book, and the adjective is describing the book, the word good. Or in Spanish, el libro bueno, el libro is the noun, bueno is the adjective. Okay? And again, notice it comes after the noun in Spanish, whereas in English, in front of the noun. So what do I mean when I say they have to agree in Spanish? Well, they must agree in gender and number. We know that nouns in Spanish all have gender and number. And this doesn't have anything to do with, or usually doesn't have anything to do with gender in the real world, in the physical world. It's just like a grammatical category. And in Spanish, the adjective must agree with the noun in both gender and number. So let's take a look at some examples of that. The first thing we're going to look at is adjectives that end in an O or an A. So here is an example of an adjective, bueno or buena, that ends in an O or A. El libro, right? El libro is singular and masculine, el libro. So bueno, the ending also is going to be singular and masculine, el libro bueno. What if I'm describing something that's feminine, though? Like la película, the movie. I want to say it's a good movie. La película is also singular, but in this case, it's a feminine word. So the ending has to be singular and feminine on that adjective as well. La película buena. What if it's plural, though? Not just the good book, but the good books. So los libros, and I made a mistake here. Los libros, right? The ending on the adjective also has to be masculine, but this time plural. Los libros buenos. And if I want to say the good movies, las películas, it's feminine, but now it's plural, las películas. The ending also has to be feminine and plural, las películas buenas. So that's an example of an adjective that ends in an O or A. El libro bueno, la película buena. Los libros buenos, las películas buenas. Let's look at an example of an adjective that ends in an E. For example, the word interesante. So here we have singular and masculine, el libro interesante, the interesting book. Or singular and feminine, la película interesante also just stays interesante. If it ends in an E, like interesante, there's not a masculine or a feminine form, it just stays the E. El libro interesante, la película interesante. But we do have to change it to make it plural. So, los libros interesantes, las películas interesantes. Okay? So that's how it works if it ends in an E. And now let's take one more example. This time, what if an adjective ends in a consonant? So not a vowel, but a consonant. What do we do there? We're going to look at the adjective trabajador, which means hardworking. So the hardworking boy, el chico trabajador, that's el chico trabajador. But now let's look at the hardworking girl, la chica trabajadora. We're going to add an A there. So el chico trabajador, la chica trabajadora. If it's plural, los chicos trabajadores, we add ES for masculine. And if it's plural and feminine, las chicas trabajadoras, we add an AS. All right, so write a summary of what you learned about adjective agreement in this space in your Cornell notes. Adios.